Okay, so today I am going to take my wing apart again. I took it apart once, disassembled it because I was having a flaky fader. I replaced the fader and it didn't solve the problem. So I'm going to do it again. Quite a bit of disassembly here, so I'll be doing this in pieces, I'm sure, on the video. But the highlight levels, this whole section and the bracket that holds the IO section in has to get removed. The best way I have found is just to put on something nice soft blanket like this, face down. So that's what we'll do now. Okay, so I've turned it over and I took off my the first 12 fader caps because I'm going to remove my actual main board that had the problem. So those are off as well. So the first thing we got to do is take out all these black screws around here, around the whole thing, all these guys here, all the way around, bunch of screws. So I'll do that and I'll be back. Okay, so I have taken out all the screws around the perimeter, and obviously not all that, just the stuff around the perimeter all the way around. And I also took out the SD card just because I didn't really want all the pressure on these brackets, even though it probably wouldn't hurt anything. Well, it doesn't hurt anything to take it out either. So let's tip this back. I can do it with one hand. Okay, so you open it up. It's hinged, so it'll hold itself. For those of you who are interested, this is where you install. There's videos out there on how to do this, but I mean, it's basically like putting a piece of RAM in a computer, so it's very simple. But that's for the Dante card internal slot. And I had installed that by just taking it off from the regular card, just the Brooklyn card, I guess it's called. So, all right, so there's lots of stuff here that ends up having to be unplugged from the factory. These come gobbed full of silicone. This one is actually your monitor. It's got really, really fine wires, so very careful taking that guy out. We're gonna basically just be rocking it back and forth. Power has to come out. This guy, obviously anything that's connecting the boards together has to get disconnected. So I don't know, I'm not probably going to be able to do all that stuff. These two guys are coming off. This one here has to come off. And I disconnected this cable from here rather than down on the board. So I'll do all those disconnections and I will come back. There are clips underneath there to release this connector. A little bit of a pain in the cheeks. Grip that. I can't do it with one hand, it seems. All right, I got it. See that big connector? Well, this guy, very gently rock that back and forth, loosen that cable up. After you've gently cleaned off all the silicone goop. Now, this is, I returned it that way. It had a black one on, so we'll have to do nippers and remove that because this actually is plugged into the board. So, and then we also have to get these guys off here. They're There's a little clip underneath there, so you release both of those. I think they're for the headphone jacks. Gently. Hard to do. One hand. I'm not a one-handed wonder. Well, gonna have to pause you. Okay, I managed to get that off. Now I got myself a little nipper here. Free this guy. Set him just down. And gently. Be very careful. All these wires in here. This is just a little bendable. I'm guessing that was probably in there like that originally. Took me a long time to take it apart the first time because I had no idea what I was doing. Not that I appear to have any idea now, but I definitely had a lot less and no idea what I'm running into. So we gotta take this right here off. All right, so then we have everything that we need removed to take this guy off. So as you can see, it's kind of hooked here, so to get it off, we just slide it. You can do that. Well, I'm sucking with the video here, sorry. I'm gonna be throwing up right now if I'm watching it. All right, so you can see, and it is now free. So we can set that aside. Matter of fact, I'll go put it away because there's nothing we need to do on that for what I'm doing. I also like to keep all the screws separate. So these all came from our main section. Obviously they're all black, and anything from the actual mixer cover that we're going to take off are silver, but nevertheless I like to keep them separate. So I'll put them over here, keep it out of my way. All right, so next thing we've got to do is take all these out, and this has to come off because underneath are some screws we have to, like these, they have to come off over here in order to get this guy off. So I'll take this off and then I'll be back. All right, I managed to remove all the screws, and now this just lifts off, and it's easy to put it back on because there's little notches you can see right there that fit in the hole, so it's real easy to put back on. So we'll set that guy aside, and I keep his screws together even though they're the same as the other ones. But next thing we got to do is take all these guys all the way around. Tons of screws. Take them off first, and then I'll show you how to get these guys off. So I'll be back once I got them off. Okay, got all the screws out. Basically, just note that pretty much, well, it appears to be every single one. There's one here that is attached right where the monitor or display is. So every single one of these all the way around have to be removed. So they can pretty much follow all the way around, but then there's these two up here that have to come off as well. So for removing the sides, when I first did this, I could not at first figure out how these guys come off. So they're kind of stuck on. I kind of loosened this one up so I could show you with one hand, but I just took the back of my screwdriver and just tapped on this edge. They slide off. They don't pry off or anything like that. There's no clips or anything. It's just a matter of taking the screws out, tap it a little bit, and then just slide them, and then you can take them right out. So pretty simple. But then we have more of these silver screws that you have to take off. So I'll take care of that and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have both of the side rails now removed and the screws taken out, and the one thing left yet now is we got to take this wood thingy-majig off, and that's the last thing holding this on. The screws here do not come out, but they back off and loosen. There's a spring retainer on them, so I'll do that and then we'll be back. Okay, I loosened all these guys up. There's 3 of them on each end, and then it's just a matter of raising up the mixer. You can see how easy these are. I actually thought about redoing this and maybe putting leather on it or something, because it's a little, it's wood, so it's getting banged up a little bit. Can't really see it, but there's some dings in it. So anyway, now that's out of the way, I will put this stuff aside. Matter of fact, I'll come back when I get a little housekeeping done here. Okay, so there's a couple of things. It's going to probably be hard to raise this, but these 2 guys have to come out off. They're the headphone jacks, so there's a cable that runs through here, and they're not long enough to take off, but I'm going to raise it up so you can see that. If I can do it with one hand. Let's see here. Okay, there you can see those 2 guys there have to be disconnected. And you can see these, well, can't really do it. You're just going to have to take some things and disconnect them from, like, that sleeve there. It's holding that guy on. So actually, I'm probably wrong about that. That doesn't have to. Yeah, it does, because it's right there. But anyway, I'll be back. I remembered from my previous time of doing this that I have to disconnect that. Anyway, so this guy here, I got to snip that because the jack is connected to this, so that cable will stay connected to the top. So get my nippers here. Try not to make you throw up, but trying to do things. I am not a YouTube maker, and I'm not a technician. So for those of you who are skilled at it, be gentle with me. I had nothing to lose. My wing's not under warranty. My fader, number 6 fader, is messed up. I know other people have had that trouble, and I did replace the fader and it didn't fix it. So I'm gonna do a little exploratory surgery here, see what we can find. Anyway, that should free that up, but I can't probably do this with one hand, so it's hard enough doing it with 2. Try again. Show you without reefing on anything. Okay, so these guys, you can see them. I'm gonna pause and unplug them. Okay, I pulled that cable back, freed it up. We got a few more that we got to bring back. I'm gonna try and hold this. So it's just a matter of pulling that through. Any of the cables that are, attached will be okay. The rest of these will stay here. So now we're ready to actually lift the top off. I'll try and do that with one hand. Probably not worth it. No, I'll be back. Okay, got the top completely disconnected now. So, I don't know if those are LED strips. I think that's what those are. But anyway. All right, so now for those who are curious about the display, I'll move these cables out of the way so kind of take a peek. I mean, the only thing that's powering it and connecting it is this one cable. And how it comes off, I don't know. Maybe there's some connections on the other side. I can feel the screws there, so not sure how this guy would come off. Probably tip the monitor out to get to them. Yeah, I can see it. You do it from the inside. So you'd have to open the monitor out to get to those screws that are holding it in the chassis. So not the scope of what I'm trying to do today. So when it comes to, this is where the first 12 fader banks are. There's 3 things that have to get disconnected. Simple, nothing too complex with these 2 here. This guy is another story. This is a very delicate connection, and this little clip, just gently raise that. Oh, I can't do it with 2 hands. Hold on. Well, I was doing it wrong, so even though I just did this a few days ago, I forgot. This is not the part you move. So this is the bracket, but there's a little bitty, this black thing tips up. That's how you remove that. But if you take a peek, this cable is ridiculously delicate. All these little ribbon pins. And if I did anything wrong hooking that up, I'm gonna guess that's gonna give me some trouble. So anyway, that guy on this one, easy peasy. This one, it's hard to do with one paw. I'm not going to. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that off, so I'll be back. All right, we got him out of there. It's a pretty good size thing to try and squeeze with one finger, so wouldn't recommend that. But anyway, I mean, from here, depends on what fader bank you have to work with. You know, these would be the 4 mains and the user control section. The 8 faders, buses, whatever, the 12 bank. So what we got to do next to take this guy off, all these screws around it, that plus these 3 standoffs. So you want to pay attention to where they work because they go into basically just a screw hole. So just remember, or take a picture so you know. So I'll be back when I got them off. So I also wanted to mention, it's easy to forget, but there's a bunch of them that aren't just around the peripheral. So these 4 have to come off too. And for those who want to know, that's a 5mm bit it takes to turn them off. So I'll take these other ones out and then I'll be ready to take the board out. Okay, all the screws are out and now this just lifts off. Assuming you took the fader caps off, otherwise they'll probably just all pop off anyway. But I'm gonna lift this off with both hands, so I'll be back. But maybe before I do, let's give a nice close pass. Yeah, got a little bit too much glare in my room, but well, you know. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to say the only reason I'm really making this video is because I was really frustrated that there wasn't anything. And that Behringer would do nothing to give me a schematic, a video of what it looks like to take it apart. I mean, I'm not under warranty, and frankly, I'm not spending $1,000 basically minimum by the time I ship the thing in. You know. And then minimum repair, from what I could tell, would be at least $500, averages 800 or so. So I got $1,000 in it. So I bought this secondhand from someone who bought it new, but because I wasn't the original owner, I can't get warranty work on it. So not too thrilled about that. So don't want to make a bashing video, but I'm doing this so that somebody else who wants to take it apart isn't doing it blind. So, all right, I'm going to go and take this board off, and then we'll look at the other side. And there you can see the standoffs and all the stuff after the board is out. And it kind of looks to me like, as long as I'm in here, to get the hinges off from these guys, it might be pretty hard to do with the boards on. You might end up taking them off if you have to replace your screen. Thank goodness that's one good thing that isn't wrecked on mine. No flaws at all on that. The only problem I have is so far with this guy, and I am getting noise in my preamps too, so maybe I did something to the board, who knows. But anyway, let's go look at the board. I'll bring it into my shop. Well, it's kind of hard to do this because my light wants to create a glare on everything. So I unplugged the fader that I replaced. That was a job, I'm telling you. There's clips, one here and one here, and they are just gob full of solder. And you can see there's a lot of, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a lot of flux and junk. It seems to me this was soldered manually. There's a lot of residue left on the board from the manufacturer. I had a heck of a time getting these things in there. They're not doing anything really, they're just retainers. But then you have these four guys here that you got to take out, and then there's four here. All of them were difficult to desolder, and I have a fairly decent soldering iron, but it took a lot of time. I would not want to take them all off, and if you have to get a new board, I found out it doesn't come with faders, so it's $785 for a blank board with no faders on it. I don't know that I could successfully remove all these without wrecking them. I even bumped the plug here with my socket with my thing and for my soldering iron and melted it. But anyway, so I'm going to turn it over now and show you a couple things that maybe is contributing to the trouble. All right, so here I'll try to get a fairly good shot of the whole board. So this would be the fader that I replaced. One thing I noticed, I thought maybe it would just be the motor. Well, I'm jiggling around, sorry. These are not screwed on. It's like punched on. So you have to be able to get that gear off to swap out the motor. Motor's held on by two, so I don't know how to get that off and get it back on. I mean, I probably could get it off, but how I'm going to get that back on, I don't know. So it wasn't a simple thing, and I wasn't going to, I guess I could try taking it apart on my old one, but from what I could tell, there was nothing wrong with my original fader. So what I wanted to get to, and I don't know if I can get enough light on it, but if you look at these capacitors, let's see if we can zoom in, or the transistors, they're not soldered very well. And somebody that saw the pictures, my first attempt, pointed out, like, yeah, on the other side they're fine, but they're not soldered well. Some of them aren't bad, but they didn't seem to put any effort into that, and I don't know what to make of that. So I'm going to try, see if I can get what these are, but sucks getting old and being blind. See if I can put more light on it. If we have any chance. I know there are two different types of transistors. I think it was an 827 and an 837. I'm not 100% sure. I can't tell from the video. I'll have to try and do a photo. So if I can get that, I'll post it. Embed it. Alright, so it seemed to matter what effort I make into trying. I got a couple of stills, but it looks like they're I would say a BC 327 25 J46 is what it looks like. And then I want to say an BR or an 8R. BC 33725. And then I can't read that. It looks like a U, I don't know. This is where a schematic would come in really handy. Anyway, all right, let's check out the other side. But you can see like all of these, even these on the end here, they're not soldered the greatest, but I'm not having trouble with them, so I don't know. Okay, I'll try and record this for you guys. Maybe that'll be useful. Components. It'd probably be helpful if I could get it to focus. But I'm blind and I can't tell. And I wondered if it seems like it's power related. And my understanding of how a fader works is the positive power makes it go up and negative power makes it go backwards. So I'm guessing that's what these components do. I have really no idea, but I'm wondering if this guy or any of these that are, if they're bad, how would I know? I mean, I don't know how to test them. I don't really want to start desoldering and trying to replace stuff that willy-nilly. I mean, my board still works and I don't really want to ruin it completely. So anybody has any ideas of what could cause that, or what component is failing if the fader itself isn't the problem? What would cause a fader to only go one direction? It'll go up just fine, just won't come back down. So I don't know what else we can take pictures of here. Let me pause here. So this is the one I'm actually having the trouble with. I don't really see anything. Trace line. Whenever D12 looks a little rough, it doesn't seem related to anything. Scan this a little bit, maybe it'll be useful for somebody. Soldering all the way up to here holds the fader in. It seems those solder points don't do squat. None of them are electronically active, so they just seem to be holding it, from what I can tell. So it's all about this guy. I don't know if you can read that or not, but the R238, there's a little hole next to it that when I look at the other faders, that's got solder on it. This one doesn't. So maybe that's a problem. It's like every other one has that. All the other ones have little bead of solder on them. So, you know what? I might just fire up my soldering iron after all. Okay, you can see that I just hit that little guy right there. A little bead of solder. See if that made a difference. Well, I guess I'm about to put it back together. I'm not going to video that. I'm just going to assemble it and see if it made a difference or if I completely ruined my board. Hopefully not, but at this point, it's probably worth more parting it out since nobody can find any of these parts. These are all good. The only thing wrong is this one. So anyone that's having trouble with that or any of these other boards, can't even get them. And my screen is mint, so I don't know. Maybe I'll do that if I can't get it to work, because I really can't stand a faulty mixer. It drives me nuts when if you're gonna have motorized faders, they need to work. And the way that, if it was always the same fader, well, fine, but it isn't. So every time I move around and use something, it's just not going to work for me. So anyhow, that's it. Hopefully this is useful to somebody out there. I know it would have been useful to me if I would have had it. So thank you. See you. Okay, well, I didn't wreck it. I wanted to show you guys what actually is happening on mine, because I think other people are dealing with this too. But so here's fader number 6. And let's just change. Okay, pops up just fine. Well, let's go back to where we were, and he won't go back. Up fine, not back. One thing I did notice, I didn't have a video of it, but when I put it back together, the I/O has some of the, that little dainty ribbon cable. And it seemed like the clip holding that down wasn't in place. It was partially loose. So I lined it up and clipped it down, and now I'm not having any trouble with my preamps making noise. So there are some really delicate things inside of here, and if you are a bit of a Neanderthal when you work on it, you're probably going to have trouble like I did. But I have to say, I had noisy preamps intermittently. And those are the nice pre's, the pros on the back of this. So in my studio for tracking, I want my U87 plugged into one of those. I have a DL32, and that's not a sneeze either. It's pretty decent sounding. But anyway, just wanted to say that I didn't break it. Another suggestion that was given to me, and I did try this, was upgrading my firmware to 1.13.9. It actually fixed the problem for a few weeks. But after that, anyway, I'm back to the same problem. And then downgrading the firmware and upgrading again did not fix it. So maybe the next version will solve the problem. I don't know. But anyway, for now, I hope this was helpful. Thank you. Please subscribe if you want to. I'm starting this YouTube thing, and it won't monetize me till I have 500 people. So tell your friends. Thanks. Bye.